In this video, I will demonstrate a Kitchener stitch from the wrong side, sometimes called a Finchley Graft. If you're a subscriber, welcome back. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm happy to have you here. If you enjoy this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you get a notice each time I go live or post a new video. The Finchley Graft, so called by some sources, because it appears in an 1852 volume of the Finchley Manuals of Industry, is also simply just Kitchener grafting, but from the wrong side. And this can be so much easier to work, and you'll see why in just a minute. So I have a swatch to demonstrate on really quickly to show why this method of grafting is so much easier. When we are grafting stockinette with the right sides facing out or the wrong sides together, we are essentially creating a line of duplicate stitch. So I want to demonstrate what's actually happening, pretending that this one row doesn't exist and I'm actually grafting across this row, which is essentially what we are doing. The needle has to go in and then and down and then up to create the first leg of the stitches in the graft, and then it moves up, right, and it goes down and then up. So our needle movement is not a fluid movement. It is down and then up, and then down and then up. But if I turn this to the wrong side and show a duplicate stitch from the wrong side, our needle has a much more fluid motion, right? When we're following a path of stitches, our needle goes in and it goes in. Right? And then it goes in, and then it goes in. So the needle never has to move down and then up. It's a much more fluid movement. So in regular Kitchener, right, the wrong sides are held together, like so, with the right sides facing out. For this wrong side Kitchenering, we need the right sides facing each other and the wrong sides facing out. So if you are working a sock toe, for example, you will need to push your knitting through the opening that the needles create to get your wrong sides facing out. I have a contrasting color threaded, but you will typically use a tail. To begin, we will go from the front through from front to back through the stitch on the front needle, and from front to back through the stitch on the back needle, like so. And then we can drop the stitch on the back needle. Now, from the back, we go through the stitch on the back needle and through the stitch on the front needle, being careful not to split that seaming yarn. Let me hold this out of the way. And then drop the stitch off the front needle. And so we just repeat this straight through both stitches. Pull, you can pull snug but not too snug. We can always tighten this graft later. And then drop it from the back needle. And then through the front stitch, through the front stitch. And drop from the front needle. So you can see this is much easier. There's no real memorizing that needs to happen. that back stitch fell off, which can happen. So just be careful. So that one was supposed to drop off. This one's not yet. So now front, back to front. So again, like with regular Kitchener, each loop, except for that first one, is being worked 2 times. And we're only dropping it after that second time the needle goes through. So that's gotten 2 passes, so it drops. And then drop. And if you set it down and pick it back up, I don't recommend doing that, even with this easier method. But if you do, you can figure out where you left by looking at where the yarn is coming from and whether it's been dropped off the needle or not, and whether the stitch has 2 passes through it. So this stitch has been dropped off the needle, it has 2 passes through it, the yarn is in the back, so I know I need to do my next back to front. And then drop. And that's really all there is to it. I'll work across the rest of the stitches and show you what happens at the end. You still need the same number of stitches on each needle for this grafting method. So get that stitch picked back up there. Drop the back. And when you are left with one on each needle, you will just go through from front to back and drop them both. Like so. Here it is from the front. Not too bad. It could, the tension could be tightened. So work from where you began, stitch by stitch, moving the excess into the tail location. So there it is, finished, and it looks just like a Kitchener. But we worked it from the wrong side, taking advantage of the fact that duplicate stitch from the wrong side is much easier to work, to follow the path of the row. I find using this method, it's also easier to more closely get the tension correct from the beginning. It's easier, so be careful not to pull too tightly while you're working it, but it is much easier to keep the tension consistent as you are working the graft, meaning that you won't have to clean up as much at the end. So that was working Kitchener from the wrong side, otherwise known as the Finchley Graft. Did you enjoy this? Let me know in the comments below. I hope this was helpful. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching.